This is the Panasonic WV-CM1000/G. It contains a 9-inch curved CRT consisting of 300 lines of horizontal resolution. I class the monitor as a security type rather than a pro monitor for reasons I will further explain. The monitor was made in 1998 and is of an all-metal construction on the outside. There's a nice large orange power button on the front. When powered, the red LED next to the power button illuminates. When a PAL signal is fed into the monitor, the LED will be red as well, as can be seen. When we switch to an NTSC signal, the green light comes on instead. Miraculously, the flap is intact on the front. 99% of the time these flaps are missing. If you have a Commodore monitor, if you have various other PC monitors, I'm sure you'd be missing a flap or two. You know how easily they are to break and go missing. On the inside at the leftmost side, there is a switch to determine which input from the two on the back is in play. The next button is AFC, and I've forgotten what it stands for, but it is to do with videotape playback, not applicable to gaming. Following on, there are knobs for tint, color, brightness, contrast, picture, and volume. Further, there are also trimmers located within inside the holes next to each of the video controls for further fine-tuning adjustment. As you can see on the back, there are two sets of inputs with outputs, input A and input B, both accept composite video via BNC and mono sound. There are two impedance sliding switches to accommodate those inputs. Here we have a little slide switch. It's set on NTSC, which is appropriate for NTSC consoles. It can flick up to NTSC M, which is a pseudo NTSC standard, often used to play NTSC VHS tapes on PAL VCRs. The model sticker on the back, the model number, ends in /G. There are other variants of the monitor out there, including the /A. The G, the A may designate the country that the monitor is intended for. I'm not sure on that. I don't think the differences are significant in any case. The power cord is hardwired in, despite the manual that I have indicating that it is an IEC socket. It's hardwired in, ending with an Australian power plug here. Finally, there are two holes on the back to adjust focus and screen properties. I like that the date of manufacture is stamped onto the PCB that's out of sight. If we zoom in, we can see the model number on the tube. It's Panasonic and it's an A, not an M grade, 22 centimeters in size. Moving around to the other side, I like that the three trimmers in front of us here are accessible. With this dip in the metal, you can push in a screwdriver to get it flush, a nice fit into the heads of the trimmers, and make adjustments such as vertical size, vertical center, and horizontal phase. Looking down on the neck board, we can see 5 pots there for adjusting red, green, and blue, as well as your typical fare of your convergence rings and so forth. On the bottom side, I want you to take note of the 4 rubber feet that are screwed into the base. This is an official Panasonic rack mount. Panasonic rack mount bracket, model number WV-Q52AE, made in Japan. It will accommodate 2 of the monitors shown in this video. Note the 8 holes in the base plate. These holes line up with the rubber feet so that the monitor can be secured to the rack. The rack can be mounted with either 1 or 2 units. There is a blanking plate available to fill up the right side, or the left side if that be the case. However, I don't have the blanking plate to show what that looks like. We've brought along the son, the descendant monitor. The monitor on the right is the Panasonic WV-CM1020. This is to give you a look at what it looks like with 2 units fitted into the rack. We'll do a video on this newer descendant monitor in the future. While we're at it, we'll chuck in a Sony monitor into the rack to fight with the Panasonic. The Sony on the right is a 9-inch BVM. It's a fairly low laying unit. Height-wise, it's acceptable, I suppose. Width is no problem, but the length is quite a bit longer than the Panasonic, and the Sony gets stubbed on the back to further make it protrude out the front. In any case, the likelihood of being able to align the screw mount holes on the bottom of the monitor to the Panasonic rack is very unlikely. It's nice to have a little comparison of the two anyhow. With the pattern generator hooked up now, the image to my eyes looks plenty bright enough. The colours look accurate, to the naked eye at least. There is a bit of rotation going on in the picture, a bit of curving, particularly if you look up the white and yellow column, if you look up the seam where they meet together, you can see there's a leaning to the right a little bit. You can see that the white bar is thicker width-wise at the top than it is at the bottom. Have you ever seen a monoscope pattern centered perfectly by default on a monitor? I don't think I have, and this is no exception. The grayscale looks okay. It's hard to see very much at the left end of the scale with the light shining down on the front of the screen. This tube may have a tiny little bit of reddish tinge to it, hard to say. The grayscale is a very good indicator of health of a CRT. This is an interesting game for the Sega Saturn. Its name is Crimewave, and I believe it's the only Western developed game on the Saturn that is rotatable. To rotate, you need to do this code on the title screen or in demo mode as it is right now. That is, hold the left button and also press and hold Y and Z. You can rotate it the other way with the left Y and X, or we can resume it back to normal with L, Y and B. I'll rotate it this way and then actually physically rotate the monitor to play it vertically. Oh, we're in trouble here, we need to start the game. We'll go to the beach stage. I played this earlier and I actually felt quite nauseous looking at it. I'm going to turn it off before I get sick and go to a regular game. But an interesting game nonetheless, that you can rotate it even if it does require a code, which is rather silly. It should be just an option in the options. There are links below to the instruction manual and specification sheet of the monitor. As mentioned earlier, the monitor is geared more for security. If you note, at the bottom of the instructions, there is reference to Closed Circuit Video Equipment Division of Panasonic. Add this to the fact that the monitor is not geared towards portability. It doesn't have a carry handle. It doesn't have a 12-volt supply connection point on the back. It doesn't have any battery slots. It's basically set it in its place and leave it there. As to the disadvantages of the unit, obviously the limited inputs. It only accepts composite video. It doesn't do S-video or RGB. That's already somewhat of a deal breaker. I'm sure there's someone out there that can mod this for RGB, and it would really show its true colours then. The flap is often missing. We established that. And one other disadvantage is that often there are faults in this model, whether it be the sound not working, or an input not working, or the monitor not turning on. They are not reliable. Of course, it is 24 years old. You have to give some leniency towards these old electronics. On the Pro side, on the Advantage side, 300 lines of resolution, 50 lines more than base level Sony PVMs, good quality picture, rack mountable, rotatable, and strong construction. This bad boy competes somewhat with the Sony PVM 9040 ME. That too doesn't have RGB. If you can overcome the problem of not having RGB, you might be onto a winner, but I'll let you, the viewer, judge for yourself what you think of the monitor. Thanks for watching. Please share, like and subscribe. See you soon in the next video.